Now to test what this shape looks like, I can swap the palettes over again, but I also want to make it in black, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the original image so we can just see the outline. Okay, so with the background image turned off, obviously it's a white object on a white background, and we need it to be black. So I'm going to select the fill. Now, I can only ever control the color which is on the top, whether it be the stroke or now the fill. Do you see how they switch over by clicking on the relevant one? So I want to affect the fill, so I'm going to need to make sure that the fill is on the top. So I'm going to click on the fill, and then I'm going to click on black with the eyedropper, and that's going to give me a black. It's not a perfect black, but it doesn't really matter too much because I just need to see something visually. Okay, and I'm just going to go back to my selection tool and just click anywhere on the background, and that's going to deselect it. So right now it's looking pretty good. You know, we can zoom into it, and she's looking pretty fine. Nice smooth head. There's no sort of like jerky movements. There again, what you'll find is if you're putting too many of those anchor points, you'll find that you'll kind of get jerky kind of movement or flow of the line. Pardon me. Sorry. So yeah, you'll get a smooth line. So that's another reason for not using too many points. Okay, so this is looking pretty good now. So we just need to work on the eye, which I'm going to talk about. Okay, so let's turn that background image back on again, and let's turn the bit of illustration that I've just done off. So I'm going to turn that layer 2 off. I could even name this layer. If I double click on this layer, I could even call this drawing. So we know exactly what layer that is. I can create a new layer now, and this will have the eye on it. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to double click on it and call this eye. So what I'm going to do is I could, there again, use a pen tool and draw around the eye, but what I can do is I can get Illustrator to help me. So I'm going to go over to my tools, and I'm going to click on the rectangle tool, but click and hold, and I'm looking for the ellipse tool. And this is going to help me create a circle. Okay. Now I'm just going to click and drag roughly where the eye is. Okay. Oh, so it's put it black inside it, and I don't want there to be black, so let's swap those colours over. Okay, that's great. Now you'll notice that the ellipse of this that I've created is not quite at the same angle as the ellipse of the eye, so I can move it, but it's still not perfectly fitting. So what I need to do is I need to rotate that to get that into the right kind of angle. So there again, I can hover over the corner, and I can rotate around. I can use the arrow keys to maneuver anything that's highlighted or selected. Okay, so it's a little bit too big as well, so I'm going to hold down Shift and decrease the size a little bit. I might increase the width. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. Okay, so that's great. So I've got my first line. And what I need to do is I need to be able to create this cutout, I need to have the outside of the eye and then also the inside of the eye. So I'm going to create another circle. And this time, instead of dragging, because I want it to be a completely round circle, I can do what I did before, is if I hold down Alt and Shift and then click in the middle, it will actually create the circle from a center. And it will also, the Shift will lock the aspect ratio, so that it will always be like completely round rather than being oval. So I'm going to get that to roughly where I want it. Okay, that's good. And great. So I've now got the two eye elements which I can use to cut out that piece of the eye. Now let's turn the background off, background image, and we're left with those two circles. So if I turn it back on quickly, so what we're looking to get is we're looking to cut out this kind of, it's almost like a half crescent shape. So, you know, all this white area essentially. So we need to create that shape. Now what I'm going to do to create that shape is I'm going to take the smaller circle and cut that out of the bigger circle. And that's going to give us a shape which is like this half crescent. Then I'm going to take that half crescent and cut that out of the main object. Now if I just turn the background image off and I turn the drawing, which is the girl, on, we've lost the eyes for a second. So let me just select the eyes. Now you'll notice over on the layers palette that there's a little circle attached to every layer. Now if I click on that, it's going to select whatever's on that layer. I can equally toggle this layer down and actually see what's inside the layer. Now we've got two paths on this layer. One is the inside circle, and the other one is the outside circle. Now I want to select the inside circle, and I want to create that, make that black, a black fill. So I'm going to go down to my toolbar. I'm going to switch those over again. Okay, great. I'm now going to select the outside circle, and I want to fill that with white. So currently it's got a black outline. So I'm going to switch those colours again. So now I've got nothing on stroke and black on the inside. And on this colour palette, I'm going to turn that to white. So the fill's on top at the moment, so that's good. I'm just going to eye drop the white. Oh, there you go. So that's creating our eye. Now, just to demonstrate what's happening, if I create another object, it doesn't really matter what it is, and I'm just going to put it there, and I'm going to make it blue, as if it's blue sky. Now, because we're making a cutout, we should be able to see through this white, the whites of the eyes. If we were to shine a light through it to make a silhouette, we're not going to see through that, because essentially that's a white object on top of a black object. So what we need to do is we need to cut those out. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to, as I say, I'm going to cut those out of this main object. Okay, so by the end result, we should be able to see that blue as if that was the sky through the eye, which should be the cutout. Okay, so I'm going to turn that blue block off for a second. I don't need that, and I'm going to turn the background off. So I'm just going to leave us with the white bit of the eye and the inside of the eye. Now we can't see those, so I'm just going to highlight those. There you go. Now, incidentally, now you can see that this is a green line, and before I was working on the main picture of her, the outline of her, and that was red. Now, if you look down the side of this layers palette, you'll notice that the colour represents the colour, which is that all the lines are created on. And if I want to change this, I can just double-click on that layer, and you'll notice it comes up with green, and I could turn it to, let's say, cyan. So sometimes you want to change the colour of the layer just because it makes it easier to see an object. Like blue, in this instance, is not particularly good. We can't see it very well. So let's change it to brown. And we can see it much more clearly. So if you ever get that, have that problem, that's how you change that layer colour. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get use a thing called Pathfinder to delete the black circle, the small circle, out of the bigger circle to create this half crescent. So I'm going to get that up, Pathfinder, and I'm going to go to my palette's Windows and find my palette Pathfinder. Okay, and so we've got Pathfinder up, and it's come up over here. Let's pull this off and just pull this nearer. So I'm going to use subtract from shape area. Now if you're on a newer version of CS, this might be minus front, and I'm just going to click on that button. Okay, and what that essentially, it's really hard to see what it's done. It's got rid of the black, but if I turn my blue object on again, you'll see that now instead of being a black object on top of a white object, it's cut that black object, which is a smaller circle, out of that other object, and we've got this half crescent. So that's perfect. So now we've got this half crescent. Now what we want to do is we want to cut that out of the main object. Let's turn that blue background off and turn on the person, the kind of girl. And now what I'm going to do is I need to select. I've selected the half crescent, but I also need to select the background. So the cutout of her. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and with my regular just arrow selection tool, I'm going to hold down Shift and select that. Now all three items are selected, and now I'm going to hit the same button again. Okay, so nothing really appears to have happened, but if I turn the blue object on again, we can see now we've got a proper cutout where we can actually see through essentially the whites of our eyes. So when this is cut out digitally, you could take this onto a laser cutter or a vinyl cutter and get this cut out, and this would cut out perfectly, so that you could see through that eye section.